Need for Speed 2 Special Edition released on the PC in late 1997 in the US and 1998 in Japan and Europe. Similar to the first Need for Speed, the UK and European box art features a golden tint and modified box artwork from the regular Need for Speed 2 game, with the McLaren F1 and Italdesign Calà being pushed aside by one of the new cars exclusive to the Special Edition, the Ferrari F355 F1. However, the US box art once again featured the Ferrari F50 and is pretty bland. As the European box art is once again better, I'm going to use that as the basis for the hero car this time. Now, we used the Italdesign Calà in my video of the regular version of the game, and whilst the McLaren F1 is one of the best cars in Need for Speed history, I'm going to use the Ferrari F355 F1 as it's much more prominent on the box art. Now, before we dive into the game, it's worth mentioning that the Special Edition brought the ability to run the game optionally with 3D Effects Glide technology, which improves the graphics greatly. It does, however, have a caveat. If you run the game without using 3D Effects hardware, it looks like this, complete with a giant bitmap cockpit graphic, as per the standard edition of the game. However, in converting it to 3D effects, both texture quality had to be reduced a little, and the giant bitmap images no longer were possible, so the Glide version instead looks like this. The colourful skies and fogging pretty much make up for the loss of the cockpit view. Oh, and this Australian track features one of my favourite and gruesome effects ever, where you splatter through a load of flies. But anyway, let's look at how the Ferrari F355 F1 in particular is represented in this game. Well, it's not been added to the opening cinematic, which is identical to the original Need for Speed 2, apart from it's now no longer interlaced, so looks a lot better. Once again, the cars become fireballs, and the title appears, which now has SE added to it. The splash screen has the F355 F1 and the Italdesign Nazca C2, both of which are new in this version. The game has a new wild handling mode, as well as arcade, but I prefer simulation. Location-wise, there are all the same tracks as the regular game, plus one new one called Lost Resort set in Mexico, which we'll use. The cars are the same as before, but the Ford Indigo, which was an unlockable bonus car, is available from the start. New cars also include the Ford Mach 3 Concept Mustang, but we're here for the F355 F1. As per the regular game, you can see the car stats and optionally tweak settings. There's also a full showcase where you can hear about the car.
With its dramatic though tastefully restrained Pininfarina styling, the 355 F1 succeeds a long line of V8 powered Ferraris.
Read stats about its performance.
The 355 F1's power plant is
Hear about the history of Ferrari.
With a tradition of producing some of the world's fastest and most exotic sports cars, it is no surprise that Ferrari has a rich lineage of competitive auto racing.
Look at some nice promo photos. And watch a video showcase, which looks like this. One issue with this version is that the cars have been graded as Class C to A. The McLaren F1 is in Class A, whilst the Calà and F355 are in Class C, so you can't replicate a race with all three cover cars together. So what we'll do is take the Calà, which I raced in the original game, and see if I can beat it with the F355 F1. As I've so far lost every Need for Speed game I've played, I'm overdue a victory. But will the game play nice for once? Let's find out.
3, 2, 1, go! Finish lap.
Despite wrecking a few times during the race, I got to this point closing in thinking like Darth Vader, I have you now, and then trip over a lorry. The physics of Need for Speed 2 were always pretty special. so, once again, Need for Speed defeats me. That's 4 losses out of 4. Surely Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit will be where things change, right? Join me next time to find out.